Hello and welcome to DeKoder. I'm joined today by R Rajagopal, former editor of The Telegraph, a newspaper that's been known for its smart, witty, and very sharp headlines as well. But he himself made headlines after he decided to go public with the fact that he had been denied a passport renewal, actually. And that was because after the special intensive revision of electoral rolls, his name got deleted from the voter list, and therefore he did not have a voter ID. And the police verification could not happen. And they, in fact, gave an adverse police report, because of which he could not get his passport renewed and he could not attend his own daughter's wedding in the US. Thank you, Mr. Rajgopal, for joining us on Decoder. Finally, after 3 months of struggle, it looks like there is some good news. Update us.
But my after actually 2 days ago in the evening after this controversy and all that happened, I received a call from the passport. At least the gentleman told me he's from the passport regional passport office, and he asked me to send an email requesting a re-verification by the police. So I did that, and yesterday evening, my when I checked the passport tracker for the status of my application, there it was said that action for printing has been initiated. So usually it means now things are on course, but until you get in the hand passport, I can't say anything.
Yeah.
So that is,
And all this, of course, happened after your public note in which you mentioned the kind of struggle that you've gone through. And of course, the Editors Guild, Kerala Chief Minister V.D. Satishan, wrote to the West Bengal Chief Minister. Of course, Mr. Rajgopal is from Kerala but has been living in Kolkata for the last 30 years. And of course, civil society, all that outcry and media kind of noise that seemed to have pushed it towards some kind of a resolution.
it looks like it. Actually, there's a minor clarification. Actually, I had written. I was part of a jury, journalism awards jury in New Delhi last year. So, 4 days ago, they called me and told me to become the jury member this year also. Then I was explaining that it will be difficult for me. So, what I did was I wrote a long letter explaining why I won't be able to be part of the jury this time. One, I'm completely preoccupied with this paperwork for this passport, my SIR deletion and passport delay. Second, I was completely disenchanted, so to speak, with the way the mainstream media, not alternative media or new media, the way new mainstream media has been covering this whole SIR exercise. No, it is not just about my case, but the whole SIR exercise. So I'm inherently biased against the mainstream media. So how can I be sit on a jury where we will also be adjudging entries from legacy media, traditional mainstream media, and obviously there are a lot of good work happening in mainstream media also, and because of my bias the competitors should not suffer. So I said that I cannot be part of this, and in that letter I explained in detail what happened with my SIR and as well as with the passport. So when they received it, they asked me permission to share the relevant part. So that is how it became public. It is not that I went out and wrote for this. When they pointed out that it should be shared with their colleagues and others, then I agreed. That's how it happened. Yeah. Then coming to the question, it does look like the media discussions, other things did have an impact. So what it proves in one way or the other is see, we have been hearing for quite some time that media is irrelevant, but it is not so. When the media stands united and when they raise an issue with in one voice, sometimes there will be some result. Second, it also shows, see, after this the recipients of the letter shared it with her friends. It was actually originally published mainly by online media, social media, and the online media. The mainstream media was merely reporting on it, so the incident reporting next day. Today, some papers have written editorials and all, but otherwise they were merely reporting. Whereas, so online media, new media, especially the Wire, it commissioned its own articles. Mr. Sanjay Hegde wrote an excellent article. See, the larger picture, it is not about an individual, the larger picture. So what I'm saying that
Absolutely.
it is also a sign that where the balance is shifting now from the mainstream on impact from mainstream media, it's slowly shifting towards social media. It is attaining a critical mass. Third, it is also a level. So a lot of people ask me, isn't it a sign that if you go against an administration, you will be harassed? So I said I don't have any evidence, but what it proves for journalists who are working, who was in the profession, I think it's a very good sign that if you do your job, at some point you will get the result. So this is in this particular instance, it's not because it's me. I think the media largely did this job. It is showing some results. So it should be an inspiration for serving journalists. At least once in a while, try to do your job. That's what I tell mainstream media. Not every day, possibly. It's not possible for them because job security is a very important issue. So.
For many journalists who are getting cynical with the kind of work that is happening in the mainstream media, this is reason for hope. And if we thought, that alternate media, the digital platforms, also are giving us some reason for hope. And like you said, the shifting sands is what it is showing in many senses. You chose to actually not go public with this. Why is that? I mean, given your stature, given your kind of public profile. Something like this happening to a person like you obviously reflects a larger problem with the system itself. Uh, Tell us how you read this, because you have been saying that the last 3 months, even that very so-called prestigious award in which you were supposed to be the jury member, from which you excused yourself because you're very busy with chasing this reflects that a common person actually cannot fight this as a normal battle.
Exactly. This is the most worrying part. See, it's again, I'm emphasizing the point that it's not about an individual. It is about common people who don't have. See, I am to an extent, up to an extent, I'm a privileged person because of the position I held. Not now. Now I'm a former journalist, but I because of the position, I edited a newspaper that is fairly well known. So obviously, I have some privilege. Politicians also, elected representatives. Some people know me, at least my name, so that privilege is there. But why I kept quiet for 100 days? Actually, it's the day I spoke. Well, it's a coincidence. It's not that I was waiting to reach 100 days and then. The thing is that, see, several editors in India knew about my situation. I've my friends have spoken to them. I personally have discussed with at least one editor. I had asked specifically for help, not help in solving my issue. I had asked for help in finding out, because where I was getting constantly stonewalled by the police was, I was asking them, you are telling me that because my name is deleted from SIR, passport verification, you will not give verification, clear verification. So I was repeatedly requesting them, on the basis of which law are you saying that, or on the basis of which order are you saying that, on the basis of which memo are you saying that? Because the election commission has been repeatedly assuring the Supreme Court that the data from SIR will be used only for the purpose of cleaning up the voting list. And the Supreme Court also said that in case you come across any citizenship concerns regarding anyone, you should send those names to the Union Home Ministry, and only the Union Home Ministry can take a decision. But here, a city police force is using its discretion or an order. I don't know, because I repeatedly asked them, because that was very crucial. I needed to see an order. Otherwise, how will you? Because otherwise, a person is just telling you, a person who is refusing to give his names, anything. He's just saying that Hobena in Bangla, Hobena is like, it's a finality. It's like it won't happen.
Won't
And
happen.
it won't happen. And as a citizen, you are supposed to just take that and go home. And that's exactly what I did. And then I approached at least two or three journalists who I knew from earlier, and they have said that they will get back after checking, but none of them got back. That is so. Then when I told this to some of my retired, very senior colleagues in Calcutta, they said that they have discussed with the editors in Delhi, and then they will be soon. They will be calling you to speak to their not the editor, their reporters will be calling and speak to me. So when I heard it only, I laughed and said that it won't happen. I'm telling you, it won't happen. Nobody will call me. And unfortunately, I turned out to be right. Nobody called me. Nobody. I'm not again. I'm not complaining about me. What I'm saying is, if as a journalist, when you hear that a former editor something like this is happening, then it is incumbent upon them to check whether is it happening to other people also, isn't it? And if it is happening, then they should. Even if it's not happening, they should. Then there is a doubt. We understand there is a policy confusion. So it is a newspaper's job or the media's job to speak to, because the media has access that I don't have, because I asked that police were in that an organization called Security Control Organization, which is part of the Calcutta Police Special Branch, where I was called. I went there. I asked them repeatedly. See, in a police establishment, there's a limit to how much a normal common citizen can ask. You can ask once, you can ask twice, maybe third time, and fourth times if you ask the repeat, you know what happens in India. We don't have to tell you whoever it is. So whereas media has the only media can approach the police chief, media can approach the minister, media can approach the spokesperson and ask them, just state your policy, clear the policy. You say that then if your name is cut from SIR, then we won't be giving passport verification anymore. So make the statement, and then if anybody doesn't agree with that statement, they can go to court, or it's a democracy. We have a lot of options left. But here there is a wall, and without in that wall, I could not even have gone to the court, because technically, even today, my application is pending. It's not been rejected. So unless it
Hmm.
is rejected, how? Because if I approach the court, court can very well say that let the process be over, and if you still have a grievance, you approach. And which is a fair. If a court says that, I accept that. If a court doesn't have time to deal with so many incomplete processes, or I should have an emergency, a health emergency, or some conference or some event happening abroad. There's an emergency. Then also I can go to court, and I don't have any emergency lined up. Then, as a common citizen, there's no option. That's again, and so that is why. So you asked me why I didn't do anything, because I did not do what to do. And even
Yeah.
last week I did. Like I told you, I was not making myself public. I shared a letter with others wanted to share, and probably because of the profile of the people who shared also, some of the very senior, very senior journalists in the country, there that may have helped also. And because when I approached at least two or three reporters and one editor of a very well-known paper, because the response I got, I then thought that maybe I don't count anymore, because I'm a former journalist, and once you are out of, once you lose, then that also could have been. And technically speaking, I can't use such clinical terms without medical terms, but I actually think that I also went into depression. But most of the time, I used to morning from evening I do this, and the evening all I do is stare, look at the sky, night sky, and just sit there somewhere. So there was a personal trauma also involved in all these things. I wouldn't like to talk
Yeah.
about it, but then sometimes we need
No,
to
you
talk
had
about.
to miss your daughter's wedding. I mean, what can be more traumatic than that, other than other than having to chase documents which you don't know where they exist or not?
No, to be honest, that is not a very big issue, because I had not finalized plans to go. My wife had already finalized plan. I had not finalized. So, but it is true that if I wanted to go, if I decided to go, then I could not have gone, because April 17th was a wedding. At that time, I didn't have though I applied for my passport on February 27. Even on April 17, I didn't have the valid passport. Even now, I don't have. My biometrics were done on March 19, but the application I put it on February 27. So my daughter's wedding is not such a big issue. I don't think anybody blocked me from going there. It is just a calendar coincidence. So I don't think we should focus too much on that. But my personal toll, it's quite high. I basically withdrew from. I used to address a lot of meetings in Kerala. I was not in Kerala. I was in Calcutta only for this. But
Yeah.
I could have online meeting. But I withdrew from everything. So because you you don't know, suddenly you feel that you're a half as what is there is some inadequacy, you are not that you have to prove yourself all over again that you're Indian. Then it is so ridiculous. Some days I am writing to my mother's school, where she studied in 1959, asking them whether they have any document to show that my mother studied there. I'm calling up 84-year or 86-year-old people who were activists with my father. My father was a Gandhian in retirement, asking them whether they have any photographs, just to prove that my parents existed here, because I don't have any document to show that, because they passed away. I have the death
Yeah.
certificate, and I submitted. Police wanted that death certificate to my father. I gave it, and evidently it was not enough, because they were still sitting on it. So it is quite a ridiculous, surrealistic kind of. You are living in 2026. I'm sitting in Calcutta, and most of the time I'm trying to find out what happened in 1959 to my mother, when she must have been 16 or 17 year old, where she studied. How more ridiculous can it get?
Yeah.
So I didn't know actually what to do, and I'm sure if this situation is faced by others, they also, unless you have very high contacts, you in between, some one person did offer to help me. So he said he will speak to his contacts, and shall he try. So I said, on your own you can try, but I cannot ask you to do that, because I can't be seen as taking any favor from you. So I don't know what happened eventually. So and it's not right. I mean, it is something that is the travel document that I'm entitled to. Every Indian is entitled to it. So that is so. I actually did not, which is why it's very important that even now, even if I get the passport, I will consider myself a defeated person, because my objective was to get policy clarity from the somebody in authority. So the MEA could have, this is the fourth day the controversy is going on. MEA could have on Monday morning just issued a two-line statement saying that, not about me, just saying that either way, okay, if SIT your name is cut, passport renewal cannot be done. Or you say no, these two doesn't have any. That would have immediately cleared the country. But see, till today, neither has Calcutta police nor the West Bengal government said anything. But this is the most unfortunate part about it, And the more you
Yeah.
remain silent, the bureaucrats down the line will feel more empowered to cite these kind of, these are not being legally tested, whether you can ask or not ask, So they will have the suddenly a policy that was meant only for a specific purpose, the ambit of it being widened suddenly, and it all affects us, it affects each and every citizen. That is another problem.
Totally. I understand that kind of a situation in which you really don't know which way to go. You actually never pointed to any kind of, being targeted or being singled out for the kind of journalistic work that you have done, or you never said a vendetta or political vengeance, but certain posts on social media, on X, by someone who's an advisor to the government, seem to suggest that you are paying the price for the kind of, headlines that your newspaper run. What does that tell you?
Yeah, till that happened. I think day before yesterday, 6 o'clock in the evening, the gentleman tweeted. I think till then, I was saying that I will not comment on this because I don't have any evidence. And as a journalist or former journalist, how can you say something without any evidence? You can't do that. That is a basic training all of us have as journalists, and we cannot go against that. But then when he tweeted and others pointed out that what more evidence do we need that other than this tweet? Why he tweeted it, I don't know. Yeah, now that he has tweeted it, I have my. I also, like a lot of other people, have my suspicion. I didn't have it till then. Even if I had, I wouldn't have spoken about it because without evidence, you can't do it. And another, see, now in hindsight, you think of a lot of things. What happened was the dates are very important. On May 20th, I
Mhm.
was told in category when categorically I was told that the Hobena that thing was told on me on May 20th. But the regional passport office informs me in writing only on June 17. It's almost nearly after a month. So somebody was deliberate. Now, in hindsight, because the government takes great pride in claiming that everything happened so fast. I think Passport Seva Day, they said things are moving so fast. But there is a rider. I think they also know what's happening because there's a rider. But for police verification, everything is done in 7 days like that. They issued a statistic with a rider in it. So obviously, government also knows this is one area where things can get stuck. But once my case, it was not stuck because they already categorically told me, Hobena, it won't happen. Then why did they wait for nearly a month to? Because unless I have, let's assume that they didn't issue the thing in writing, then nobody would have believed me. They would have said there must be some other reason. It's not SIR. Government can also know who said it's SIR. There's maybe some other issue. Maybe there's a case against him. In fact, I heard yesterday, I read in one police officer apparently said there's a problem with my address. Address has issues. What is it? 23 years I'm staying in the same address. The passport, the first new passport, first ever in my life was issued from this very same address. Second, it was renewed in 2005. Then it was renewed in 2015 from the very same address. And from this very same address, I have sought renewal now. Now to say there is some problem in the address, which they did not mention any during this. Certainly to say that, and now without any explanation, it looks like they've cleared it. So that's when I say there's a complete policy haze and policy confusion, which if it is the executive who can easily clear it. If they don't do it, judiciary should do it, but judiciary may feel that they are overreaching into governments in the executive thing. So I suppose the only solution, if the opposition raises not my issue, the larger issue of this one data meant for a specific purpose being used by other agencies without the court sanction or without any sanction for other purposes, that has to be raised
Yeah.
in parliament. and the government should let it come out and say whichever way it says. Then, if somebody has a problem with that decision, they can go to court and it can be legally tested. But right now, there is nothing anybody can do. But only thing I'm very surprised that they issued this in writing. Because I don't know whether it's an error of judgment on their part, because they send it to me by a normal post and by email in writing that because your name is because of SCR deletion, police have sent an adverse report. It's very clearly written. That which if it had
So
not been
that
there,
really points to the that
yeah,
really
yeah,
points to the larger issue of SIR, the exercise that is being conducted in multiple states,
yeah.
and lakhs of people, in fact, being disenfranchised, isn't it?
Yeah. The why I mentioned, I'm underscoring this writing part. But even now, when some newspapers report, it's very good of them. But they say that Rajagopal was denied this clearance allegedly because of a SIR deletion. It's no longer allegedly, because I have a written proof. Had I merely made claim that it is allegedly, but now I have documentary proof, which most media outlet did not ask me also. Yesterday, some people asked me, "Can you show the document?" So I think we are also, as journalists, we have. That's why I find it very. Government should actually love our Indian media, because we have so much faith and respect for authority in India over the media. See, the last 3 days is happening. Only yesterday, somebody actually asked me, "Can you show me?" Because they were. I was saying, and they were nodding, but they should actually ask for document. If I say I have a document, they should ask, "Now, can you show us?" Or maybe they respect my privacy so much. I don't know. Either way, it's a very well mannered journalist. So
The larger debate in the last few days, we have had this thing about passport is only a travel document. It is not a proof of your citizenship. Your Aadhaar card is a proof of your own identity. Then you have the PAN card, which is supposed to be only for your that you pay taxes. Then you have your voter ID. It's supposed to allow you to vote in a particular election or in the elections that are happening in your area. This entire debate once again brings about that issue, isn't it? About what are we going to show to say that we are citizens, and can we arbitrarily link a voter ID to a passport? I mean, there is no connection otherwise. I mean, voter ID, that is a question that you have been raising as well about voter ID, if the election commission says is meant to allow you to vote in a particular election or vote in elections, why is it being linked to a passport?
exactly, that is so. I think again we have to speculate. You have to speculate, and my speculation is like not mine. Others are also saying, see, they already, I think, succeeded in half their battle, because already by making that statement that passport is not your, which is based, and see, nothing has changed. This is based on the 1967 law. So no law has been changed or anything. They are just merely interpreting it, and the timing is very important to say that right now. So I'm sure already there is everybody is saying, see, we don't have, India doesn't have a citizenship. So next, if somebody proposes, okay, let's have a citizenship card. Let's have it. Now only I think the people, naturalized citizens get a citizenship certificate. So instead of, let's have a card. So we can have. I think Aadhaar project 2 is coming, because Aadhaar, when it happened, so much of money was spent. I think thousands of crores was sent on the Aadhaar project. We were told that this is the answer to all our problems. It is like manna from heaven. After Aadhaar, all our problems are solved. But now we are saying the very same Aadhaar is just an identity proof, and it's not meant to be used for anything. So let's assume an Aadhaar, I think around 12,000 crore or something was spent. If I'm not sure of the figure. If a similar project and a card project for the entire country is now, I think they're quietly making. We can assume that we are only walking into a trap by creating. We don't have any card, we don't have any identity, nothing is accepted. Let's say another project comes. Uh, you think about the expenses, and you think about who all stand to gain for your friend. I'm sure if at all such a project is going to be launched, I'm sure we will know which company will get the contract to execute it also. So all these, there's several, that's why when there is policy
You're
confusion,
duplicating the effort, isn't it? Aadhaar itself
yeah,
is supposed to happen
exactly.
with a lot of
You're duplicating.
verification, driving license,
You're
PAN,
duplicating
or
effort. Yeah, again, you are harassing people. People have to go and show documents to enter the citizenship. What can documents? So the whole, so you're not allowing people to rest. They're constantly on their toes. All citizens, what document you have to show tomorrow, what document will be tomorrow. This is the idea. So all this is happening. So people will say, my critics will say, you are just sitting there and speculating wild theories. That is exactly the problem. When you have policy confusion, there is no clarity. The whole thing becomes a fertile ground for speculation, and wild theories will be. It is the government's responsibility to nip this in the bud by coming out with a clear policy statement, which they are not doing. That is.
So even if you finally now do manage to get your passport, I can't really say all's well that ends well. But what are your takeaways from this entire experience? One silver lining that you pointed out about the media still being relevant.
Yeah, one is how when individuals are completely helpless in this country. We have absolutely no power. We don't know what to do. So it is like, I will say, we have forgotten how to look authorities in their eye, authority in its eye. We have forgotten that. We whatever they tell us, we just swallow it, and we just walk away. We can't do anything else. One good thing, like I told you, the media, when it wants to, it can really have an impact. Third, I think the balance is shifting. It was shifting. It's more decisively it's shifting, and it's a warning to mainstream media also. If they continue to do this public relations journalism, it is going to be a disaster. Soon they'll become. I can be very frank. I don't read newspapers anymore. It was unthinkable for me 10 years ago, because like all most Indian homes, we used to fight for newspapers when we were children. When reading the fresh paper was an experience. That already, in any case, medium doesn't matter. But I don't read because I don't find anything enough. I do glance at them, and I don't find anything. But whereas online media, excellent journalism is happening in online media, alternative media, new media, in spite of big resource crunch and challenges, and some of the better online media, they are free. Whereas the newspapers charge you from 7 rupees to 9 rupees every day. And in spite of charging, this is the shoddy work they're doing. So there is another consumer angle also in it. So these are the two. These are the man. Yeah, like I said, journalists, committed journalists, they have no reason to feel despondent, or that this is a futile work. It is not. Somewhere, someone will be helped by good journalism. Always, and all good journalism will always be noticed. Also, whatever you do. So that is my.
On that little note of hope, thank you so much, Mr. Rajgopal, for joining us. And this is quite an experience for every citizen as well to think about, because someone like you who people would presume has a voice and has the ability to reach out to authorities, you had to go through such an ordeal, such a nightmare, and therefore more reason for citizens also to become more proactive, I guess, in voicing their concerns, whether it is about an SAR or anything else in the country. Thank you so much for joining us on DeKoder.
Thank you.